Good evening, friends. In the last session, we have discussed about the spinal cord. In this session, we will be discussing a very important topic called cerebellum. Important topic. This is the superior aspect of the cerebellum of anatomical dissection. It contains two large cerebellar hemisphere, and in the median plane, you can see a curvature. This is like a worm, so worm like vermis. So in the superior aspect, this vermis is not separated or not demarcated by the cerebral hemisphere. There is no fissure or anything to separate it, so it is written as vermis is not demarcated from the cerebellar hemisphere superiorly matra, but inferiorly we can demarcate by deep furrow inferiorly called valleculae cerebelli. Valleculae cerebelli. This is valleculae cerebelli. Okay. So in the inferior aspect, you can see here this small part, and this part is called as a flocculus. Flocculus, and this part here is called as a nodule. So you can see a fissure called as posterolateral fissure. Divides the cerebellum into flocculonodular lobe and corpus cerebelli. So this yellow portion is called flocculonodular lobe, and remaining is called as corpus cerebelli above. So this is flocculus, this is nodule. Both are connected by inferior medullary velum. Inferior medullary velum connects flocculus and nodule. Okay, this part is called inferior medullary velum. This yellow portion is called as flocculonodular lobe, and remaining part is called as corpus cerebelli. This part, remaining part, superiorly. So corpus cerebelli is divided into anterior and posterior lobe by V-shaped fissure called as fissura prima. This V-shaped fissure is called as fissura prima. This is anterior lobe. Posterior lobe, this is posterior lobe by the V-shaped fissura prima. In the anterior lobe, the wormal part contains three things from anterior to posterior. So this is anterior lobe. This is what I said, vermis, like this worm-like structures. Here in the anterior lobe divided into three parts. Wormal part. This part is called as lingula. This part from anterior to posterior. Lingula is anteriorly middle central lobule, posteriorly culmen, and there are lateral projections. From lingula there is no lateral projection. From central lobule there is lateral projection called as LA, LA, and from the culmen lateral projection is called as quadrangular lobule. Okay. In the posterior lobe, the wormal part consists of declive, folium vermis, tuber vermis, pyramid, uvula, and its lateral projections are called. From the declive, lobulus simplex. From folium vermis, superior semilunar lobule. From tuber vermis, inferior semilunar lobule. From pyramid, biventral lobule. From uvula, tonsil. These are lateral projections from all these parts. So you saw here fissura prima, which divides the anterior and posterior lobe. Posterior lobe, anterior lobe. This is anterior lobe, this is posterior lobe. By the fissura prima, this is V-shaped fissura prima. Below the fissura prima, you can see horizontal fissure. This was fissura prima. This is horizontal fissure. Divides into superior surface above and inferior surface below. This was dividing what? Anterior lobe, posterior lobe. This is dividing into the cerebellum into superior surface and inferior surface. Okay, morphologically cerebellum divides into three parts. Here anterior, the anterior part, archicerebellum or vestibular cerebellum, paleocerebellum or spinal cerebellum, neocerebellum or cerebral cerebellum. Archicerebellum contains foculonodular lobe and lingula. Okay, where use of foculonodular lobe? Here, foculonodular lobe. See this and lingula. Lingula, where you saw this is lingula. Contains by archicerebellum. Paleocerebellum consists of whole anterior lobe except the pyramid and uvula. Whole anterior lobe except pyramid and uvula. And neocerebellum contains all except the archi and paleo part. Except these two part, all what are there in cerebellum is contained by neocerebellum. Archicerebellum function goes to the trunk muscles, paleo limb muscles, neo skin, performance of skin. So in the anterior part, the corpus cerebelli divided longitudinally into three zones. Okay, foculonodular lobe and the corpus cerebelli were divided now by what fissure? Starting you saw this part by the posterolateral fissure, right? By the posterolateral fissure, it was divided into foculonodular lobe and corpus cerebelli. This corpus cerebelli is again longitudinally divided into three parts, longitudinal three zones. Here middle is called as vermal zone. Beside lateral to that paravermal zone, this part or intermediate zone. Lateral to that last lateral zone. Okay, this was the explanation of the cerebellum. Hope you understood. Thank you.